there, see if there's a podcast community out there. Now, I don't know how many makeup podcasts there are, but there could be, and that would
you
be a great reason,
don't you?
Yes, I do. That would be a great reason to drive people to your YouTube channel because they need to see how the makeup is done.
Yeah, totally. Great. So one of the questions I have a few that are important to me, and one of them here is, I really like interaction, and I love that part of YouTube and the comments and everything, but how does that work on podcasting? It seems like it's just a totally one-directional thing. So all I've been doing so far is referring people to tweet me on Twitter, and some people have been taking advantage of that and taking me up on that, so that's been awesome. But it is nothing compared to like what I'm used to on YouTube, you know.
Sure.
So is it just not intended to have any interaction, or how's engagement work?
No, there's lots of interaction that goes on. So you can have a call-in number. You could use Google Voice and have people leave questions and play those questions so that people can hear themselves in your podcast. You can, you're already using Twitter. That's great. You can use Facebook. That's cool too. You can use your YouTube comments. There's nothing stopping you from creating a promotional video promoting each episode of your podcast and putting that on your YouTube channel, if it makes sense, and then using the comments off the YouTube video and answer them in the next episode of your podcast.
Okay, so it's kind of like take the audience and feature them in the content, is what it sounds like you're saying.
I think that's a great way to interact with your audience in a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, these questions, if they came in from somebody, if you were playing the audio that they had left on as a voicemail, that would be really cool. They'd get to hear themselves. They would want to share that with their friends and family. Go, oh, you need to check out this video podcast. Something really good in it, And then it's them, and their family likes it, they like it, it makes everybody feel good.
Yeah, I do that on YouTube, where I do Q&A videos and take screenshots of questions asked in the comments and feature those and answer them. I think what I'm trying to replace, or not replace, but recreate in podcasting is, one of the things I love about the video creators community on YouTube is that one person will ask a question, and then by the time I read it, there's been like 7 answers from other people who already answered that person's question, and I don't even have to at that point. There's tons of back and forth. There's people like collaborating and subscribing to each other's channels and stuff. Like, I like the idea of facilitating a community of interaction between other people, whereas podcasting seems very much like me communicating with everyone and then everyone communicating back to me, rather than me getting the community to kind of focus on each other, interact with each other a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people, you look at Bigger Pockets and they have forums set up on their website, and so they drive people to those forums. The community interacts with them there. Yeah. So it really depends on what you have permission to do from your audience and where they live. I mean, they could live on Instagram or Snapchat, and that's a whole nother, way of doing things. But for some people, forums work.
For some Facebook group or something.
Yeah, you could definitely do a Facebook group, a Yahoo group. Go old school.
Yeah, Yahoo groups, or even Google groups are still pretty old school.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that people have been asking, hey Tim, I love it when you just talk all by yourself. Hey Tim, I love it when you have interviews. Hey, you need a co-host. Are there pros and cons of doing like solo podcasts versus interviews versus co-hosts? Anything you need to keep in mind for any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to have a guest every week, that's a trap that you can fall into, and so you really have to prepare that and make sure that you're producing that ahead of time, and that you have a backup guest ready if your guest falls out or has technical difficulties. Sometimes you want to keep a show in the can that's kind of like evergreen, that for some reason you get sick or you have to go out of town on business, you can play that backup episode. I work with a lot of YouTubers, and there are new podcasts I'm going to be launching soon with some big YouTubers, and with all of them we're creating extra episodes because YouTubers travel a lot.
Yeah, I do that on YouTube. I haven't done that with podcasting though.
And you just have to have that as a backup, or else you're gonna miss that date that you need to be posting on it.
Right.
So be careful if you're gonna have a guest every week, because that can be a trap.
And by a trap, you mean like that just becomes a thing and it's hard to get out of? Or?
Yeah, and you may pick crappy guests like me. No, you may get a bad guest that isn't as good as you would want just because you have to have a guest. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and some people like that because it's kind of like I'm giving them access to someone that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to, like you, for example, in this podcast. But other people are like, Tim, I hate hearing other people's BS. I just want to hear you talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to it, but you know, you got to do what you want to do, or you've got to super serve your audience. It's up to you as the creator to make that decision. But
so you can mix and match, I'm guessing. Sounds like.
Yeah, you know, what do you want your format to be, and how much work do you want to put into it? You know, there are some podcasts out there that are so well produced. You look at Ira Glass in This American Life. You know, it's a radio show. It's super well produced. You look at Leo Laporte with This Week in Tech. Leo is a machine. I mean, he has co-hosts that are on with him. He'll have guests that are on with him. But he's been doing it since 2005. You know, he's putting out podcasts all the time. He has a huge network of podcasts. So it you know, it really depends on what your comfort zone is. But I would poke around, take a look at the top 200 podcasts, see what formats are in the neighborhood of what you like. Maybe you've got some new format that's never been done before. That's cool too.
Yeah.
Podcasting is a great place to experiment because it doesn't cost a lot to get started.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a couple solo ones coming up. So far, I've had guests.
Okay, here we are at Shenot's Farm Market. It's a zoo. Sunday, October 23rd, 2016.